Welcome one, welcome all. If you are a Stargate fan, welcome to the Stargate Files. I present you Skeeter, Stargate Files. He's one of our main guys over here. And Alec Baldwin's finger. Thank you for joining us, guys. Alec, let's start with you. You're a Stargate fan. You've got a little zap gun behind you. What brought you to Stargate, and what do you think about it?
So yeah, you asked me that, and I just thought about it, and I think the first time I saw Stargate, it was on regular aired television, and it was like at a weird time at night, you know, and I was I was younger, and I was like, you know, one of those kids that would stay up late, and I'm like, there's nothing on TV, and like, you know, like, I don't even remember what channel, but you put it on like 45, and I realized that this cool show every single week would come on, and I missed a whole bunch of the beginning parts, and eventually it came out on DVD, and I bought the box set and watched that, and I'm like, how did I miss this? This is crazy.
Oh, that's pretty rad. That reminds me of how I got into like Stargate, like DS9 and some other goofy sci-fi shows that nobody's probably ever heard of. Was like syndicated TV from like 11 o'clock at night till about 2 in the morning. Love stuff like that. Now, Skeeter, how about you? What brought you to Stargate, and what got you started?
I actually went and saw the movie in the theater. It caught my eye, and I'm like, wow, Egyptian mythology. I love it. Good sci-fi. Love it. So I went and saw it in the theater, and I was like, wow, this sucks. It's only one movie. Hopefully there's another one. And then years later, or was it like, yeah, it was a little while after the movie came out, they started saying on HBO, Stargate SG-1, the series. And I'm like, awesome. I don't have HBO. So, but the cable guy came over one day and slipped him a 20 and had HBO for a while. So I could watch the show. So, because I was telling him
boxes or whatever.
Yeah. So I told him, like, yeah, well, back then it was just a screw-on adapter before they connected the cable. So, I told him the only reason I want it is because I want to watch this show. And he's like, dude, I'm going to watch that too. And I'm like, awesome. So can you hook me up? He's like, this never happened. I'm like, okay.
Very, very nice. Yep. For me, I watched it, and it was Showtime, Skeeter, not HBO.
Oh, yeah, Showtime.
Yeah. Because my first experience with Stargate, I saw the movie in the theater, loved the movie, bought the VHS tape. I was a big fan of the movie. Show comes out, and I'm hearing like Dean Devlin, Roland Emmerich really aren't fans of their show because they sold the rights to the studio and they had like no input. They're like totally hands off, didn't really care until like a year later. Then they realized, oh damn, Godzilla's not really working out. Hey, can we go back to Stargate? No, we got rid of the rights. Mm-hmm. So bad on them, and they tried years later, still failed again. But for me, it was like the free Showtime weekend, and I really enjoyed the opening. But my first episode was called Lazarus, and that's probably not the best introduction to the show. And I absolutely thought, this is stupid. I love MacGyver, but this is like the worst episode to get introduced to the show on. After that, I'm like, I could give a rat's ass about this show. And it took until about the year 2000. I went to Vancouver. I was doing some writing and things like that. I got invited to the set of a couple of shows. And one of the visual effects studios, Rainmaker Digital, I actually got to visit them. And on one of their screens, they were working on something for season 4 of Stargate SG-1. They're like, oh, dude, you got to check this show out. I'm like, yeah, I'm not really into the show. I'm not really feeling it. So enough people on like, because I visited the set of like First Wave and a little bit of Stargate. Nobody was there. They were off shooting wherever else. And everybody was saying like, hey, we worked on that. Hey, you got to check this show out. I'm like, fine. When I get back to the hotel room tonight, I will check it out. And after walking around Vancouver for about 5 hours and killing my feet, sat down back at the hotel room. Oh my God, there's 3 channels that are playing different episodes of Stargate right now. Space Imagination Station channel and like 2 of their local channels were just playing random episodes from random seasons. And then first episode I see is from season 4, Musetta Vander's on there. I'm like, oh, I love her from the Oblivion horror movies that are like totally terrible B movies. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Watched like 2 episodes in a row because they were cliffhangers with the Tok'ra. I was sold. And I started up back again. And by the time I got back home, bought DVD sets, signed up for Showtime, and I was off to the races and been a fan ever since. I know this is long drawn out convoluted story, but that's how I got in Stargate SG-1, and I followed it from Showtime straight over to Sci-Fi Channel.
Nice.
It was meant to be.
Yep. I felt bad for like hating on the show for so long because I was thinking, God, if Roland and Dean are like, man, the show isn't what we had envisioned and it's terrible. And I kind of bought into that. I shouldn't have. Should have just seen it on my own, but I was young. It's like 20 something. I'm like, nope. Make up my own mind. I'm glad I did. Love the DVD sets. I have that box back up here. Yeah, complete set. I had to modify, make a custom set.
Yeah, I got the old box sets, are like pretty big.
Oh, like the little handbrake ones?
And then it had the design going across each DVD case on the edge of it. So, yeah, I got those all lined up on my rack. So,
I still technically have those as well. Mm-hmm. They're just somewhere else in this room.
I used to have those. I don't know where they wound up, but I got the Blu-ray version now.
Ooh. Yep. There you go.
And
what do you think of the Blu-ray set?
It's great. It's got SG-1 and Atlantis on there.
And the fabled Stargate Universe too.
Stargate Universe and also the 3 straight to DVD movies. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Was it 3? I think it was 3.
2.
Was it 2?
Continuum and Arc of Truth.
Arc of Truth.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
They tried to do the extinction for Atlantis, but that got canceled just as they were about ready to go do it.
That would have been cool.
Were you a fan of Atlantis then too, or what did you? Okay.
I like SG-1 more, but I still like Atlantis a lot.
Yeah.
It took a while for me to, have the characters grow on me.
Yeah. Well, they kept. It felt like with Atlantis, they kept changing characters every couple of seasons, so it was kind of hard for me to get into it. But overall, it's a really good show too.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get right into Children of the Gods, the very first pilot. We are, I believe, it's a year later after the events of the movie, and they have to reunite because Apophis has run through the gate and started kidnapping women and trying to find a queen. Skeeter, what do you think of this episode for an initial thought here?
I was happy with it, after watching it a couple times. But the first time I watched it, I'm like, they changed a lot of the cast, but it grew on me really fast because I was a big MacGyver fan back when MacGyver was on TV. And it was just, I was happy with it after I got to the second episode. I was like, okay, I'm sold. Perfect replacements. You couldn't do any better than that. Opening scene, that was chilling, it got to me. I'm like, yep, here we go again. But the other thing I couldn't find out was who was that blonde that was playing at the beginning that got kidnapped. I could not figure out who she was. I didn't find a name, and I was wondering if you found a name for that at all.
Oh, shit.
I mean, she's listed on IMDb as in the credits. Is she not?
I didn't see it, but I might have overlooked it. So
there was even a bit of controversy surrounding her in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I might be able to figure out what that was real quick here.
Because in case anybody forgot, how could you? But there was full-on nudity of her in the first episode.
Oh, that was Shaw Ray. He's talking about the blonde.
Yeah, the blonde in the very beginning.
The one who was not nude.
Yeah, the one that wasn't nude just showed
she was in the scene right before that. Yeah.
Just showed her backs, but not her butt. So,
gotcha. No, I thought she was listed somewhere in the credits.
I thought so too.
And I've seen her before too.
I've too, and I couldn't. It was bugging me, and I tried finding it, and I either overlooked it or she did not get credited.
No, she would have had to have gotten credit. She had a speaking role. I'll take a look. The second I see her name, I'll know who it is.
I said I could have easily overlooked it, but I was like, "Oh, who is she? Why do I know her?"
Because I've seen her in she was in the TV show First Wave. She was in a bunch of sci-fi shows. I know she was also in X-Files.
Yeah, X-Files and First Wave. I couldn't remember First Wave. I thought it was.
Was it Rachel Hayward? Is that?
Yes.
Her?
Yes,
that's her.
Okay, so I overlooked it then.
Well, she was credited as guard number 3.
There's a dedicated page just for Children of the Gods on IMDb.
Yeah. I think I just found it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was probably trying to find what they were calling her on the show. It was early.
Guard number 3.
Guard number 3. Really? She had a name in the episode.
Back in the day, season 1, 24 episodes. Imagine how many, accredited people there are. So,
especially in the first pilot, it does feel like there's a lot of characters being thrown at everybody, outside of the 4 central ones that we end up getting with the team of SG-1, which get Kowalski and Ferretti back. Although they're recast, I don't think anybody was missing a poor guy from Third Rock from the Sun who played the initial Ferretti.
Yeah.
I mean, there was all kinds of characters walking around on the various planets, and they were in jail with a whole bunch of people. So there was a lot of people involved with that pilot.
Yeah, and they brought back the guy who played Skara,
I really liked that they did that.
What's that?
Yeah,
I like that they brought back Skara. That was important, I think.
And later, the dad, Martouf. No, not Martouf was Tok'ra. I'm talking about the dad for Shaw Ray, the Eric Avari's character.
Yeah.
Brought him back.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah. But they did bring back quite a few, and even later on in the show, they do bring back Richard Kind from the movie, but in a completely different role for Atlantis and Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
So, what did you kind of think about this? ABF.
What's up?
What did you think about some of the cast in this ABF?
So for the longest time, and maybe I still think this, I always thought that Richard Dean Anderson was a good replacement for Kurt.
Yeah.
But I think that I still wish that James Spader was there instead of Michael Shanks.
Yeah.
And he even said that he worked really hard studying his mannerisms and stuff, and tried to
nailed
that go onto the screen and everything. But there's nothing better than James Spader. That dude's just he's just a funny guy, and I think that would have been awesome comedic relief.
Yeah, he also would have gotten 10 years of career out of it from a TV show. But once you go to the movies, you don't want to go back to TV.
That's true, yeah. So that would have taken James Spader out of pretty much everything for a long time. He wouldn't have been in Boston Legal probably, and a whole bunch of other shows. So
didn't he do oh god, he did a spy show, the Blacklist, I believe.
Yeah, that's
Blacklist.
Right. Okay, I remember seeing a couple episodes of that, thinking Man, like you just pointed out, it would have been great to see him back in Stargate, even if they had to cast him in a different role. Like, just have him meet up with like Michael Shanks, because there's even the fabled picture of Kurt Russell showing up on the set of Stargate SG-1 and hanging out with Richard Dean Anderson for a shot together. And even Kurt thought, "Hey, this is actually a good show," because he was watching it too.
The making of it, when you see Kurt Russell show up, do you realize what he's dressed as?
Elvis,
because he was filming 3,000 Miles to Graceland at the time. So,
but I saw that movie in the theater too, and I'm like,
that was a good one.
Yeah, I liked Richard Dean Anderson a lot. I had a hard time getting over him as MacGyver, and the fact that he was so anti-gun in MacGyver, and now he's coming to Stargate. I'm like, oh man, you're gonna have to make some concessions for him. But he would only shoot when it was absolutely needed, like absolute defense of the team and like any sort of protection or rescue. So it was always with purpose, always with intent. He wanted it to make sense. And if that's what you had to bring to the role, great. They also had military involvement. They worked with the Air Force very closely, or they wouldn't have been able to get a lot of what they were able to get done with Cheyenne Mountain Complex, the uniforms, or be able to broadcast your show to the Armed Forces Network, which they were able to do because of that relationship. But I love Richard Dean Anderson, and it only took me just this first episode to be, all right, I'm okay with this. Amanda Tapping is really good. The only one that kind of took me for a spin outside of, say, Michael Shanks, I'm like, he's close, but he's not James Spader, was teal'c, Christopher Judge. And because it's like, there's some moments of, man, he just flipped sides within the span of like a day or like an hour, and he speaks flawless English. I would think they speak a different language based on what we got from the first movie. So there was a little confusion for me when this first happened, but it's science fiction. I give you the gimme. Eventually everybody learns English, I guess.
Like they kind of explain it later on to why he flipped later on in the seasons.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah,
that's
the
English development.
English was kind of like a surprise. I mean, yeah, they do travel to a lot of other worlds to pick up people. Maybe you learned it along the way, but it's a little too good of English.
Sometimes you have to just accept a couple of things to allow you to have fun with the show. Yeah, exactly.
Was there anything else you had to suspend your disbelief on, ABF?
I mean, as far as like realism goes, or
just in general, like going from like the movie to now this, and then okay, so this is now the base for the TV show. Was there anything that made you go, man, I wish they kept this from the movie? Or no, I'm A-okay with a lot of these changes?
Not too much, actually. I think that it was a pretty like seamless transition for replacing two major characters. Not a whole lot bothered me, because I mean they even used the exact same set.
Yeah,
just about. Yeah.
In fact, that was MGM at the time, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And then later on, they went bankrupt, and then Sci-Fi Channel bought them. Isn't that right?
They started to run out of the. Well, they were going to Showtime canceled them technically after season 5.
That's it. Yeah.
And then they were allowed to shop the show to Sci-Fi Channel. Sci-Fi Channel took it, basically gave them the money that they were looking for, and
I think
they
that allowed
them on
to like start a different studio or something, right? Because they were able to retain that asset of the fake Cheyenne Mountain.
Correct. Yeah.
So
yeah, MGM was still involved. Double Gecko, Richard's studio was involved still, and let's see. And then Sci-Fi Channel had their own little production studio, but they allowed them to keep shooting in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just no, we'll keep sending the checks. You just keep the show coming in. But they wanted some more changes, and season 6, as most people know, was a bit on the rough side.
Do you know what other set? Or what other TV show that set of Cheyenne Mountain was in?
Jeremiah with Luke Perry.
Yep.
I love that show, actually.
I do too. It's so cheesy.
Whenever I mention that, nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. I'm like, that was another show on Showtime that I really enjoyed that literally nobody knows about.
I almost think that they greenlit it because they're like, guys, we have this Cheyenne Mountain. What kind of script would fit with that?
Yeah.
Especially while they're off shooting something else, or they're in their off period because they got 2 months off to write new scripts and get everything ready for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of shows that had that imagery legally for Cheyenne Mountain either. So I mean, it was pretty cool to see that they had actual video standing outside of the place.
Well, it was a complete reproduction,
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but
And then it was just fake inside. Yeah.
The whole inside was fake.
And then I remember reading an article. It was like the DoD. They operate out of Cheyenne Mountain or something like that. I forget what division it was, but they actually like leaked classified information.
Yeah.
By saying that they actually put a plaque on one of the broom closets that said Stargate Command.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I've heard of that.
So
too.
there were some fans of the show actually inside the real Cheyenne Mountain. So
Oh, that's funny.
That's
I've
pretty
never
cool.
heard that before.
yeah.
Or if I had, I don't remember. Oh my God. But a fun show.
It is
let's
fun.
see here. Another question. So let's see here. So do you have an opinion on the cut or final cut? Like, do you like this uncensored with the nudity? Because there is that big debate amongst a lot of the fan base. Like, oh, it's totally not needed. They just did it for showtime. But for most people, they never saw this to begin with. And when they do see it, oh, damn. And unfortunately, due to the cuts, when it appeared on Netflix, they gave the show a TVMA rating.
Okay.
Really?
And they would not fix it, even though they would then replace that episode with the cut episode, but they would not release the label
That's
from
crazy.
TVMA.
So they blanket made it TVMA for the entire season?
Yep.
For the whole show.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. Not like anyone's following that anyways.
No, but when that happened, I was like, what the hell is going on? Because when it was on Netflix, I'd honestly played in the background all the time just to help like numbers, viewers, whatever. Like, hey, maybe this could be a home for Stargate. No, please don't ever do that. I don't want that.
I mean, full frontal too. It was like, whoa, we're going downtown too. Jeez. I'm like,
well,
and that was Michael Shanks' wife at the time.
Yep. So it was kind of funny, but it was like, wow, I did not expect this, but I'm not against it either. But all right.
we watched the uncut version on Discord, and Isaac, who's in the chat here, had a lot of memories of it. And he specifically said that part made him a man. Thought that was pretty funny. So
a pretty manly show. Although we don't get much like swearing, there's just the occasional like that's bullshit, and then I mean they never bring up nudity like ever again in their show. It's like after this first episode, it's like, no, we know what everybody really wants here, and it's this show. It's not like anything else.
And to be honest, it wasn't really needed.
No. I mean, there's enough side boob in the rest of the seasons to cover, everything. But I mean, it was a little over the top for first episode.
That was definitely some executive making that decision.
Yeah.
Probably because there was, so much violence, it was going to get the R rating anyways. So they were like, might as well use as much, full frontal we're allowed to for rated R.
Might as well. I mean, that was the idea. Even in the commentary, Brad Wright and like Jonathan Glassner were talking about like, they really wanted something with a lot of punch in the first episode. So, and they also were insistent on nudity because it's a paid channel, and we want to give something you can't find anywhere else. And I'm like, well, that was a network decision that they ultimately thought better of, and. As much as we all like that kind of stuff, it was totally not unnecessary for this show. Yeah. And I prefer the edited version. When I watched this the other night, I actually just watched the uncut version because it's I ripped this to my computer. So I can play it on any of the computers around here, and it's boom. I just go, and like for the rest of this season, now that I've watched this again, I am so ready to jump into the rest of this. I could probably binge this in the next like 2 days.
Yeah,
If I didn't have to work, I would. Now, would you say the show is binge worthy, or would you prefer week to week with?
I mean, it's pretty difficult. This is back when they're doing 24 episodes per season. So if you actually sit through every single episode, 42 minutes each, that's pretty rough. That's like that's some serious, like, you're sitting on a shit bucket. So
I think the most I ever did of Stargate in one sitting was like 8 episodes.
Ooh, that's 1,008 minutes.
That's pretty good. I've probably beaten that record. I've watched
16 hours and 8 minutes, or 16.8 hours.
I think I watched all Lord of the Rings extended cuts in one day when I was recovering from surgery one time.
I have done that.
We've done that once before as well. And by the end of Return of the King, is like, I'm going to bed. I don't know about you. Now, do you feel like
Hobbit? Let's go.
Hobbit. Let's go. Now, do you feel like this sets this? I feel like I've already asked that question. But it sets the stage very well for like plot lines going forward for season 1, because most of us that are talking about this have already seen the show multiple times, and they do set up quite a bit. We got Apophis, we got Ferretti, Kowalski, who's now got a symbiote in his neck, and that leaves off the cliffhanger for the next episode. And you got Shara and Skara, who are now taken over as well. And it's like, man, now we have this big giant gate of phone book addresses to go venture off to explore.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, that they've finally introduced, that you can go to more than one place with the gate, and that was very different from what we knew from the movie. I don't even know if they even speculated you could go to other places in the movie. Did they?
No, they didn't. But like at the beginning of the episode, they said, Samantha Carter says, we tried all these variables, like hundreds of them, and we got nothing. So it only goes one place. So.
And then you find out it's largely because there was no DHD that could account for.
Right. So,
and I like
since their computers were the DHD, they didn't know how to do the calculations for the universe expanding, right? The redshift,
space drift.
So which is pretty cool. I like it. It's actually, they're mixing, realism in the elements of this science fiction, which is, why I like this so much too, with all the Egyptian mythology and stuff like that too. It almost feels like Indiana Jones, but sci-fi,
And with a lot more weapons, a lot more of a team mentality to it rather than solos. Like, while the movie had elements of that, I don't think it really cracked the code of what you could really do with this property. Like, great base, love the movie, but I found more like comedic moments and more chemistry with this particular cast. And I feel like they improved upon a lot of what the movie established. And I remember Roland and Dean had mentioned talking about with their sequels that they were later to never ever do, is you were going to be able to go to different worlds with this gate, but that they did not have the same idea with the show. They had a completely different idea on how that was going to play out and work out. Now, they've never disclosed specifically what they're going to do, probably for good reason. Probably was a stupid idea because we saw how most of their movies turned out after a few more years. But I like what they did here. I like the DHD, like the phone book of addresses, and a lot of the problems that'll result from that, and a lot of the fun things that ensue from that as well. So,
yeah, and just the episode itself, it was like going back to 1997 and rewatching Children of the Gods again. Like it aged really well. They used a lot of practical effects in it. It was like kind of high budget for what it was, and I just can't help but think that we aren't going to have fun things like that anymore.
Yeah.
God, right. Like most of the shows that they try to establish now just don't match up. And to your point, like this ages so well, like you could believe that this is happening again now.
Mhm.
And
especially with why they greenlit, this is kind of jumping ahead, but
that's okay.
Greenlit the whole SG-1 program, which is go out and steal alien technology. That is such a U.S. military thing to do. It's awesome.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
Black Ops. I love the inclusion of that. That was a Jonathan Glassner idea. He was more into the Earth politics situation. And so when he left the show after season 3, some of the ideas that he brought forth to the show kind of hit the background that they would only dip into here and there as needed, or budgets were needed. Oh, we got to save up for the big special battle at the end of the season. So we're going to have a couple like political episodes with Dick from RoboCop and John Delancey later on. So that was always kind of fun to get those kind of. I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's important to establish where the show ends up going a little bit. And if you're brand new to watching this show, hey, it's cool. I mean, this is an old show. If you haven't seen it by now, that's kind of up to you for not having seen it yet. Yeah. I do highly recommend it to everybody, though.
Just watch Children of the Gods. If you like the movie, jump straight to that. It picks up right where the movie leaves off.
Yep.
That's what I would recommend too. Like we were talking before the stream, like we have one of our hosts, Kevin, who wasn't a big fan of the movie. And if you're not a fan of the movie, you're probably not going to like the pilot episode. And if you're not going to like either of them, the show isn't for you. But I like how this show harkens back to the older style shows of like, say, Star Trek. I mean, it's different. It's updated. A show I kind of look back to for how that proved positive you could do this kind of a show was a show on Fox called Space Above and Beyond. And that was a military sci-fi show. We also had Starship Troopers coming around this time as well. They all proved you could do military, hard science fiction, but you can also make it a little campy, but not too campy. But you can have a lot of fun with it. And with Richard's performance and his snappy quips, like, and Michael Shanks doing the same thing, and the fact that I want to say Colonel Carter, it's Captain Carter.
Yeah.
I'm so used to going Colonel Carter for like 3 years. But the fact that they could all banter back and forth really felt like, hey, these guys could chop each other's, they could go to town. They could kick each other's nuts. They could do whatever and just pop off. And I like that. And it brings a smile on my face just thinking about how much fun the show is. Now, are some stories good? Some stories are fantastic. Some not so much. We got a Mongolian episode coming up with Shang Tsung in it. That one does not age well at all.
That one's hard to get through. Yeah.
That's the one on all my rewatches. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the other room for the next 40 minutes, and I'll be right back. I'll hang around for the opening and like the intro because I love the music of this show. And
that's the one where Carter's like held captive, right?
Yeah.
That one's tough.
And I'm a woman, and
you can actually watch that episode, and in current times, you kind of feel like it's actually really woke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was woke at the time, way early.
But there really aren't too many moments of that other than like the very beginning of like Carter going back and forth with Richard Dean Anderson, being a girl boss, but she could actually hold up with it, so it's fine. Doesn't really, it's not that bad. But
one of my favorite lines was, "Have you ever pulled out of a simulated bombing run in an F-16 at 8 Gs?" She's like, "Yeah, I have."
Yeah.
It's so cheesy though.
I know.
She also says, if you listen to one scene, she's like, what are we supposed to do? Just like we were trying to figure everything out, trying to get these to work. We had to MacGyver a couple of things. I'm like, oh, she said MacGyver.
And he had a look on his face like, okay.
Yeah.
I
see how it is.
So in the behind the scenes, a lot of the actors actually say that Richard Dean Anderson was like the glue of the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like he like made everybody feel comfortable and just like, at ease, and they all like clicked because of the way he is. So
he was probably the best thing that could have happened to this show, period. And I know that they had a hard time getting him on board with the show. Like, he did ask for some concessions to be made to like the O'Neill character. He didn't want him to play as stiff as Kurt Russell did. He wanted him to be a little bit looser, a little more relaxed, quippy, so to speak. And
which is the best idea.
Fell in love with.
Yeah.
God, the other thing I remember from him is like negotiating his name because it was so large or so long. They wanted it so big that they had to go back to his agent and be like, we really need to talk about your contract and your name in the title card. It cannot be as big as you have requested. It fills up too much of the screen, so we have to reduce it. When Richard found out about it, he's like, "Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it." God, I love all the details behind the scenes. Like, everybody was a close-knit family, and I love how that plays out across the. It plays out very well across the screen.
And that kind of goes back to the practical effects because, I was talking about this recently. Like, when you just have like people like scheduled to come in to act in front of a green screen, not everybody is there on set working together to make the magic happen, Like, I was watching the behind the scenes. They had, you know how like the sparks fly off of the Gua'uld when they're getting shot,
Oh God, yeah.
Those are real squibs that were giving off sparks on their armor.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That wasn't like edited in. That was actual practical effects. And the amount of practical effects is just insane. And all the actors were on the set probably working with everybody, and they were all like one unit and working together.
Damn. Yeah. Such a great crew. Yeah, this is some of that armor on Teal'c about his shoulders and his collar. Like, that's what. And then there's like the little stomach piece that comes down that was doing all the tinking. That was always fun to watch that. And then like the staff weapons and although we haven't yet seen the Zat'nik'tel in action. I love when that shows up.
Yeah.
Yep, man.
One shot stun.
The staff weapon actually operated, and it like gave off like a little poof of smoke when you like fake fired it and stuff too. Like, that was like a practical effect also. And then they put CGI for the actual laser popping out of it. So
I almost had a chance to buy a prop from the set for that when the show got closed down, and I'm like, God damn it!
It might have been
at
functional.
The end of season 5, I could have done that, but I was like, I don't have the money for that. I'm sorry. My buddy at the time was like, well, somebody's going to buy it if you don't. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, how am I going to get it from fucking Canada anyway?
I would have drove there to get it.
Yeah, well, I was in Wisconsin at the time, and I'm like, oh God, I just spent all my money to fly out there, and now you're telling me a year later, hey, come back. I'm like, I don't have a reason to come back just for that. In hindsight, I would totally do it now. Now, Alec, you're a fan of guns, as evidenced by your wall. I know it's a CGI wall. Excellent work from your masters around there that master your graphics.
Sure.
What do you think of some of the guns in this show? I know they evolve later, but I kind of wanted to catch your opinion on this.
Hey, Gooch, how's it going?
Hey,
yeah,
Gooch.
So whoever the armorer was for this pilot episode was awesome. They had MP5s, they had Beretta M9s, they had the USAS 12 shotguns, they had belt feds, they had like M249s, and I think there was even a 240 at some point. I think.
Yeah, I thought I saw that too.
Yeah, which is the big boy. They got those ridiculous optics on them, which is fine. It's cool. I like it. Little flashlight hanging out too, but it was so cool because they actually had like Stinger missiles and stuff like that too for the depth gliders.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was so great.
Yeah, and the Claymores getting set off constantly.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, you hit that switch twice. That don't work like that.
And believe it or not, all these people were firing full auto blanks and no one got shot. So,
amazing.
Damn, that's somebody doing their job for you. Yeah, I wanted to at least ask you about that because I tried to get some more pictures, but I was running out of time a little bit. But I really like Kowalski's up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 249.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not as well versed on guns. I only have like a 9mm and a 44 in the other room, so that's all I got around here.
Yeah, that's my favorite gun, and the feds won't let me have one because of the NFA. So
Yep.
Oh, jeez. Figures. Maybe we need to send you down to Mexico or something, or
there's probably some Fast and Furious guns left over from the Obama era down there. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. We got a few tunnels down here in Arizona. Just saying.
Road trip.
Road trip.
But yeah, it's cool seeing a belt fed in a TV show.
God, did I have any other of those?
Yeah, that's the USAS 12.
Yep.
That's a full auto shotgun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was dope.
With the drum.
Yep.
Those are the only pictures I got then.
Yeah. And then you got the famous scene of the Stinger shooting down the death glider. Right?
Yeah, I tried to nab that. I need to spend more time working on that. But
and there's a huge gas explosion, so it almost looked like
I
Michael
wanted to
Bay
ask
filmed
about
that
that.
scene.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, no, they went overboard for this being a pilot episode.
Yeah, they really like. If you're wondering where the money went, for sure, it was largely in the practical and the cast and the settings and the locations. The CGI is actually pretty minimal. Like what they do for this Stargate is basically like repeated like multiple times for the rest of the season, especially on the initial whoosh. So, and then the iris being closed, but they would oftentimes like adjust that scene in general. Oh, Isaac's got a AA-12 is his dream gun.
Yeah, AA-12 is the modern version of that USAS.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and that is one of my top favorite guns too.
I like that they kept the soundtrack from the movie relatively, and I actually found this earlier. Was my Final Cut CD of the soundtrack.
Nice.
Which I ripped. I can send you guys copies if you aren't.
Yeah.
I almost forgot too when they get back to Abydos and they're talking to all the people, getting reunited and stuff. It's fun seeing all of them still armed with the M16s that they were left with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the same kids and people that were on the movie too, so that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, they brought as many back as they possibly could. There were some actors that were just like, no scheduling, no this, no, we're loyal to Devlin and Emmerich that. But I'm ultimately pretty pleased with the first season. I mean, it's got some stumbles, it's got some issues, but if you're looking at this pilot, you're going, if you're not sold, you ain't ever going to get sold. The pilot's fantastic, but the next couple episodes, I mean, this next episode that we're going to get, episode technically 3, is really good. It's after that, we kind of have a little issue for a couple episodes of quality, but they quickly hammer that out, that by the time you get to the Cold Lazarus episode, you're like, okay, I'm at least watching for my crew, watching for my guys, watching for Carter, because Carter's a total smoke show on this.
Oh yeah.
As always. I know on Twitter, Gary was talking about like Stargate universe. And so it was like just Peru. And I'm like, no, I agree. Don't start with Stargate Universe.
No, I talked to Gary, and I think he has watched SG-1. He likes it. He didn't like it at first, but I think people shamed him enough to watch it, and he actually he actually does like it. So.
Last I remember, he was working through season 2, or he hasn't finished season 1 yet, but he did like what he was seeing. Yeah, and that's my memory. It was like it could be like months or a year ago, for all that matter.
Yeah.
I remember sending him Space Above and Beyond and having him bag the comic books in the middle of a random stream like 6 months later. I'm like, I sent him those like 6 months ago.
Oh, jeez.
Although I never got into the Stargate comics, although I have some Vala ones from like season 10.
How many comics are there of Stargate? And are they worth reading and trying to get a hold of?
The later ones that I know of from like later seasons, like seasons like 8 through 10, from what I understand, they're not that great. If you want something worth reading, the tabletop RPG book is actually really good and gives you a lot of background on a lot of things that is considered canon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it
Now, is
gives
that like
you
a
way
side
more
story?
context to Apophis. It gives you more context to
Oh.
Anubis, all the system lords.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I still need to get that because I only found out about that like a year ago, but I keep forgetting to look it up.
Yeah, I've been trying to dig for that too, and I can't find it anywhere. And if I do, they want a fortune for it. And it's like, really? Just for a used book?
Well, merch for this show is kind of like scarce, even from back then.
Mm-hmm.
The most you could get was like press kits. And they even waited on DVDs for like a year or two.
Yep.
And then because they were putting this show out on VHS, I have the pilot on VHS above my TV over here.
Nice.
I'll actually grab that.
Yeah, the other thing I got a kick out of the show was when they started the gate up and the whole room was shaking like crazy. And it's like,
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, where'd that go after like a few episodes? Same with going through the gate and they're all frozen looking.
They actually explained that. They said that they put in like better dampeners or something like that.
Yeah, the harmonic dampeners.
Oh, for the quaking?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But even how they're frozen, I couldn't figure out why they got rid of that too.
No, I was just gonna mention that they quickly dropped that because people being sick and frozen every time they go through the gate was probably getting old. So they were probably like, let's just forget about that.
I was kind of like, yeah, we're used to it now. Like,
yeah,
but you still got to be getting cold. I mean,
and that actually becomes very important later on when they find out about the second gate in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Because that's how they find them. It's like we're experiencing tremors down in Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, wait a minute. We can't get the gate to go out. We can't do this. We can't do that. Oh, what if you did like star 69 and it bounced right back or whatever? That'll be something that's a little dated, but it's like, what happens when you call a line that's busy or whatever it was? Like nowadays it just goes to voicemail. No star 69, you just got caller ID.
And then further on the weapons too, when they take a position to hold the gate, while they're trying to figure out how to dial it, they set up like claymores all over the place and like
along the ridge and everything.
Yeah, there's like military tactics involved. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've never been that great at like military stuff, even though I watch like a lot of things like with my dad throughout the years, and I'm a history major, but I was more for like 20s through the 30s for my history degree. And like I appreciated seeing some of those kind of tactics, but I always was curious from somebody who actually knows the tactics.
I mean, I'm not an expert. I just I can imagine that they're effective just based on what I saw. So
yeah, at least somebody that appreciates the detail beyond like us, like me as a normie. Like, no, I kind of get that, but that's really smart actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
the only thing I didn't see get used on any of the guns was the 40mm canisters that were underneath. They didn't shoot any grenades out of them or nothing. I was like, what? Okay, I was waiting for someone to...
The grenade launcher tubes on some of the M16s?
Yeah, the 40mm. Yeah. I was like waiting, and they never used one. I was like, well, why not? These guys were coming over the hills, just boop. There you go. Done. Save the claymores a little longer.
It would have been nice to see that, actually. That would have been dope.
Probably because it wasn't a real attachment on the gun.
Yeah.
Didn't fit the budget, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Oh, that reminds me of like the Clan Xbox at the beginning. Like, how do you reach out to somebody that you basically told them abandon that gate, and then it's super funny. I got a better message. We don't have to call up Langley and have them send out the special drone and wait like days. I got a better idea. I'm gonna grab a box of Kleenex, send it through. He'll know what's up.
Yeah, that was cool.
Instantly.
Yeah, talking about like the intelligence of the show just reminded me of that. I'm like, that's so clever. It's such a Jack move, especially when you've seen this whole show. Although there is a point in time with the show, it feels like he gets a little dumber.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he does remind you like this is kind of an act. This is kind of what I'm doing. I'm just being a goofy jerk off. But I like when him and Kowalski are standing in the middle of the Abydos while Daniel and Carter are yapping been back and forth about cosmic drift and how this worked, how that didn't work, and how they figured it out together. And him and Kowalski are like, "Did you get that?"
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I did. I knew about that.
I know. I love that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
funny seeing the nerds nerd out, and the grunts just like, I guess they're figuring it out for us.
Yeah. And that carries forth through the show quite a bit, even from like the secondary characters. Like eventually we see like Adam Baldwin in the show, and he does the same thing. He's like, "Don't pretend you understand what the hell they're talking about over there, because I don't."
Yeah.
Adam Baldwin's the good Baldwin.
Yep.
The only good Baldwin, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, Jane and Firefly, Stargate. He was in a TV show from the 90s called VR5 for one episode. Total
He was in
creeper.
Chuck.
He was in Chuck.
Yep.
Like, he's been in so many good things.
Mhm.
I had serious hopes, like when they announced like Atlantis. Hey, can you move this guy onto the team, please? Because
Mhm.
you know, it felt like they needed a little more tie-in from SG-1 when that happened. But
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of happened later in the seasons when
yeah,
you know they were mixing with more SG teams,
yeah.
and then even with more of the off-world people that would start mixing
Woolsey.
in. Braytech was one of my favorite
Yep.
characters, actually. So
Braytech.
Master
Heck
Braytech.
McKay.
and then you got Claudia Black too, which shows up later.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people didn't like those two seasons, but I actually did.
Mhm.
Were they as great as the rest of the show? No, but I liked them just fine because I was a huge
Mhm.
Farscape nerd too. So
Mhm.
yeah, the show definitely brought the sexy ladies to the front, and there's plenty of meat for the girls too. So
Yep.
Yeah.
but any other things you like about Children of the Gods, Skeeter?
Oh, we could go on for the whole episode telling every bit of it, but like when Sam got up to the gate and she's all studying and touching the gate, and Jack's like, "Yeah, enough of that shit." Just shoves her right in, and like, "Yep, here we go."
Yeah, I forgot about that. When I was rewatching, I'm like, I just started cracking up. He does it a couple of times throughout the show, but they always save it for like, just get your ass through the
just go. It's nothing. Just go. The only thing I could think of besides, there's so many good bits. I mean, like they stole the scenes from the Death Gliders from the movie.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. And then for some dumb reason, I thought teal'c had more gold paint on them. But
the shimmer.
Yeah, the shimmer. But I can't remember if that's just the way I remember it, or I just heard Christopher Judge always bitching about. He's like, "Yeah, they always wanted to put more gold on me. Always gold. Always want to be gold. Always want to be gold." I'm so glad they don't. Yeah, because he's got like tinted, but I thought it was like a little bit more than that, like twice as much. But
I thought it always flaked off from the emblem on his head,
Yeah.
which was a cool addition to the Jaffa, actually.
Yeah, they're gold branding on their forehead.
I love how when he's asked like, "So how do you get that on your head?" "You are carved with a knife, and they
knife.
pour molten gold right on it." It's like, oh my god, that's hardcore.
It's great too because he's always hated amongst the entire universe throughout the show, so he's always trying to cover it up when they're on off-world missions.
Yeah, the
Oh,
big
yeah.
bandana, or
Yeah.
it's always something goofy. I always gotta kick
A
out.
1969 episode where he looks like a freaking hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tied eyes
Big
and
afro. And, no, the Apophis was well played. I mean, they picked a great character for to play Apophis. I can't think of his name, dropped out of my head, and I'm trying to look through my notes and I can't see it. But
Peter Williams.
Yeah, he reminds me of Nakati Getaway. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's on Sex Education, the new Doctor Who.
Nishudi Gatwa.
Yeah, Gatwa.
I'm sorry, I know that name and I don't even watch that show. I don't even want to.
So, but yeah, when I see him, I kind of clicked in my head. I'm like, wow, like if they redid this show, they brought Apophis back, that'd be the perfect person to do it.
Oh, for Apophis?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'd say
Yes,
bring back Lord Ball, but
yes, I loved fall in the series.
I see a smirk.
They choose the system lords very well because they all have very punchable faces.
Yes, they do.
Exactly.
You're meant to hate them, you know?
Yep.
I love Lord Yu.
Yeah, Yu was good too. And he's getting like Alzheimer's near the end there.
He's been alive longer than everybody else. Well, and I also like that they reference the movie quite often throughout the show. Not hard to where it feels like you're getting beat over the head. It's like, do you remember Raw this, Raw that? And even towards the end of season 7 and 8, they tie that back in and actually have to go back in time to deal with Raw on a local version. So they almost have to recreate quite a bit of Raw. But unless you survive a technical nuclear explosion in your face, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
Didn't ascend like Anubis did. So
yeah.
Now, IBF, you got any anything else you want to talk about Children of the Gods?
Once they get through the gate, you know, and they're escaping, essentially, you find out that they have a new iris on the Stargate, which is cool. So it, you know, closes itself up and no one can get through because it's only got a very small space and people just slam up against it and die instantly. So
isn't it the next episode where he says it's like bugs on a windshield?
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a tray you have to empty?
Oh my god, that would be so funny.
Who has to clean that? I feel sorry for that soldier. Like, oh man, a bunch of them try to evade. Oh, it's going to be a slop show on that. Oh yeah, scoop this out. So
I always felt bad if like there was still a refugee that was just behind them and they closed the gate like just at the wrong time. Like if you waited like a split more second, it would have been okay.
But this episode is interesting because, you know, people, you know, characters that we like and know get, you know, taken over by the Goa'uld. You got Kowalski, Skara, and then what's her face? What's her name again?
Share.
Share, thank you. Yeah. So that's, you know, that kind of builds up the entire episode of, you know, we can't fight them if we can't take them out. It's like it creates a whole conundrum.
Yeah, I like how this this first pilot episode is just dark enough to entice you to, hey, we're not going to go too crazy. Some people might die. Some people are going to be possessed and taken over. But you're going to go on a journey to see their either redeeming or their rescue or their sacrifice, whatever they end up doing. And it's very well plotted out for the next couple of seasons. I like how well all of that works out. And it also changes dynamics between the main characters because I know when Share eventually dies, like Daniel and teal'c are like not okay with each other at all. But it ends up being resolved by the end of the episode because it's a little bit of a bottle episode. They had to resolve that. And, you know, Daniel has to face everything that happened. And by the end of the episode, he's like, I understand teal'c. But you could see the look on teal'c's face of utter misery at what he had to do to save Daniel Jackson. Because it was either him or her. There was no other option because she played Daniel to a T.
Yep.
And I like how the Goa'uld are always portrayed like that in this show. There's never a good Goa'uld until you meet the Tok'ra, and even they are not necessarily as good as you think they are either. But we don't get them till next season, I believe.
Yep.
But I really enjoy this show. I enjoy the pilot. It's a great kickoff. And unless you guys got anything else, I think we could say goodbye to everybody.
I think we pretty much summed it up. At least I got nothing else.
No, yeah, that's ultimately what we're going to be doing here. Just summing up episodes, talking about what's going on, some of the characters, what's going forward. And we might dip a little bit ahead and talk about events in the future. But ultimately, we're enjoying a rewatch of Stargate SG-1. And we want you to join us on the SG files here. And Alec Baldwin's finger, do you want to let everybody know where you are, what you do, and what you got coming up next?
Yeah, I've got my own YouTube channel and I go live every Wednesday and Monday night. Wednesdays.
What you got coming up next though? You got a stream tomorrow or Saturday or?
So tomorrow I'm going to be on New Black Street. So that'll be really interesting.
I'm going to have to write that down.
Which this is my avatar for it. So,
dude, I love your name in general anyway. So, and Skeeter, how about you, buddy? Where are you at? What you doing?
Well, besides Deadwire Live, I got my own DJ business, or it's Skeeter on Sound Entertainment, and find me on all social medias. And now Stargate Files, which I've been talking to Jeff for several years about doing this, and we finally got it going.
Well, it was either this or Sequest DSV, and I was like, I would rather do Stargate.
I know I love Stargate, but I also I put that just above Sequest. I mean, that was a good show too.
Well, and I remember talking to Alec Baldwin. You know, I keep mentioning Stargate and on other streams, and he's like, "Somebody else likes Stargater in here." You know, of course, like Badger likes Stargate too, but it was just fun. I was totally appreciative that I'm like, "Hey, you want to do a show with us?" And I was like, "Yes, cool." At least want to have a couple people on here to have some fun with.
Yeah.
Live Stargate, keep everything alive, keep it going, because there's nothing better on TV right now. Let's watch a good one. Yeah. And I think it's well worth the wait. So thank you everybody for tuning in. If you could please hit the like button on the way out. Also subscribe to our channel down below. Hit the little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. And we will see you on the next Stargate Files. And we will see you next time.